Oh yeah, and there are chocobos in this game. The chocobo porters are basically just the griffins from World of Warcraft. They automatically ride you from place to place. But unlike the griffins from World of Warcraft, these have the chocobo theme. It's not quite the crazy chocobo theme from Final Fantasy 13 2. I would have liked to have that return, but yeah. Anyway, I'm just segueing back into another thing right now.
Oh, do chocobos say work in this game, or is it quay?
I don't think... No, I don't know. I haven't heard them say either. And I wasn't sure, so I put work in the first title card and que in the second one.
Because
so.
Final Fantasy VII Remake, baby. Oh, yeah.
I gotta say, this game's scenery looks absolutely gorgeous. The environmental graphics were dialed back for A Realm Reborn, more in the interest of, people actually being able to run the game. But they still look really great. The scenery is wonderful. Oh yeah, epic mining action. The audio for this footage got completely screwed over, so I'm just gonna play the Final Fantasy II Battle Remix theme here, and mining time. And this is actually a mining quest, so we're not actually going after regular materials, so a lot of the factors don't apply to this quest, but you still have the probability to worry about, and your goal in these mining quests is to get a high evaluation ranking, so you get a progressively higher bonus at the end of the quest. I finished this quest 1 point away from 320. 1 point away from 320. And you want to know the funny thing? When I went back to turn in the quest, I also ended a hair from leveling up.
That's always the worst feeling, because then you have to go back and do something else to level up. That's the worst feeling in any RPG, where you can see where your level up status is.
Yeah, and you kind of have to do the mining stuff in order to level up your miner class. Well, I suppose you could just be a miner and turn in a random side quest and get experience points that way. But you're not going to fight as a miner. I've tried. Don't do it.
Hey, swinging around that pickaxe takes a lot of effort. It'd probably hurt pretty hard if you hit someone in the head with that. I don't know.
Yeah. That preparation skill I just used was completely useless in this context, and by the way, because it reveals the methods for getting high quality materials from your mining, and you can't get high quality materials from this stuff. That's why there's no percent number beneath the larger percent number. Oh, there you go.
Why always prepare? Just go.
Almost there. Oh, I missed.
Why aren't you wearing a helmet?
How do you miss a cliff?
Well, I'm not wearing a helmet, first of all, because the gathering equipment isn't helmets, but I also have the hide helmet option turned on because I don't like the early game helmets.
Oh, fishing is an option in this game. I'm guaranteeing you there's at least one player named Link who spends all his time here.
How about Big?
Or Big. Yeah, Big.
You actually have to have a first name and a last name in this game, so...
Big Cat?
Big Link.
You fish by using the reel in command when you actually get a bite. And that's all there is to... Well, that's not all there is to it. There are other abilities as a fisher, too. I think I would have gotten a bite faster if I'd lit up my fishing wire, but, that was fishing. There's no way to make that interesting in video form, so take my word for it. It's more fun to play than it is to watch.
We'll be eating well tonight.
Just don't like fishing.
That's a true statement of any fishing thing in any video game except for Big the Cat. Like, it's always more fun to do than to watch.
No, Big the Cat is a lot more fun to watch than to play. Oh man, it's like when you actually have the controller in your hand. Big the Cat's controls are just so wonky.
But when you're watching it, the lure kind of runs around all over the place, and it's kind of funny looking.
I figured I'd spend a little bit of time as Kyo here just to show off the rogue class that they added in patches. I mentioned this earlier. Rogue class is usually my favorite class to play as in an MMORPG. It works a little differently here, and by that I mean there's no lacerate ability, which seems to be like a mandatory thing for rogues in MMORPGs and in Xenoblade Chronicles.
What is lacerate?
Usually it's an ability that inflicts bleeding damage, and I do have something like that, but it was an ability I gained at a higher level than you usually gain Lacerate. It inflicts some gradual bleeding damage over a short period of time after it hits. In this game, you have I think it's Mutilate, which serves a similar purpose. But yeah, usually the ability is just always straight up called Lacerate, no matter what game you're playing.
Oh, we're fighting a Chupacabra.
Yeah, Chupacabra. This is the first of several FATE mini-bosses that I show off. And this one, I just jumped in on while these other players were fighting it.
Hey, free XP?
Yeah, unless a character is doing their own levy quest, you can actually jump in and help anyone fight whatever monster. And they'll always get full experience for it, so you won't... it's not like you're kill stealing or anything.
Okay, that answers my question that I was about to ask.
Yeah, the amount of experience you get for jumping in on someone else's fight depends on what your contribution to the fight was.
Yeah.
So if you just jump in at the very end and
you
happen
just
to
give
be
them a
able
little
to kill
paper
them,
cut, and you
well,
get the full experience.
yeah.
I help. Well, you did help a little bit.
Sort of.
Yeah. You know, it's just they learned so well from their first attempt in this case that they don't really do anything revolutionary with the modern MMORPG formula. So if you are already like really turned off by the direction modern MMOs have taken, Final Fantasy XIV probably will not change your mind. But what they do it so well.
Yeah. At the same time, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, it's worth being a subscription game. With all the free games floating around, it really is.
Is this a subscription game? Or
yeah, the subscription fee is, what is it? I think something around the neighborhood of $15 a month. Although you can get you can save in the long run if you subscribe for a long period of time, all at once.
So you can like buy a year's worth of subscriptions.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, who did we speak to?
The naming conventions in Eorzea are a bit strange. Each race has their own naming conventions, like the Rogadins are sometimes called stuff like Bitter Snow or Spinning Blade, because one of the tribes just has a naming convention that is literally object and description of object.
Oh, you say strange, I say exotic. Ah, my good friend. It's nice to see you again.
What are you, Klingon?
Some of them just have straight up unpronounceable names, but you know, there's a random name generator if you really want to see what the naming can
Giant enemy crab!
Giant enemy crab.
Yeah, here we have this giant enemy crab, and yeah, this is another sub-boss. And I think I actually started this one up, but it's not a very powerful one. But someone else jumped in with me. I'm not sure if they were actually on the quest, but
Oh, you say not very powerful.
No, wait,
This
one
isn't an ancient feudal Japan giant crab I know.
Oh wait, no, this one was... Oh, I'm sorry, I've got my wires crossed. That was my Levy quest, and I was soloing that one. No, if anyone tried to jump in on that, they would have just gotten a notice saying it wasn't their quest. Cool thing, though. I mentioned I don't have Heavensward installed on my PlayStation 4, but it turns out if you create a character with the new race they added in, the All Ra, which is this one, you can play as that character on any other version of the game that is connected to your service account, and whether they have Heavensward installed or not.
Oh, that's pretty nifty.
So you have Heavensward installed on your PC, and so you can play.
I have it on my PlayStation 3.
Okay.
In fact, actually, but the PlayStation 3 version, the performance is not that great. Anyway, obviously, when I saw that there was a Dragon People race, the first thing I did with it was, this is the first thing I did upon buying the expansion, was I created an Eorzean version of Sash Lilac from Freedom Planet, because it had to be done.
I don't remember having a speaker.
There's also a Cat People race, so I am entirely intending to also create Carol T at some point in the future.
Why not create a big tank character named Pig?
Yeah.
Or what about one with fire named Blaze?
One of the things I should mention about cross-platform play, not cross-platform play, although this game does do that, you can play with people regardless of what system they're on. One of the things, switching your characters from platform to platform is some of their settings are lost. There is some transfer functionality between the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4, but it doesn't transfer your heads-up display settings. So I actually had to reset some of that stuff, and that's why some of the stuff like my auto lock on and some of the heads-up display stuff is a bit out of whack between characters. I should also mention, now that I'm on the subject, this is not the way the heads-up display looks when you start the game. This is just the way I arranged it. You can drag and drop stuff in the options menu, rearrange stuff. A lot of MMORPGs let you do that. It works pretty well here. I was kind of surprised that the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 versions kept that feature, but I'm glad they did, because I don't like having a big fat crossbar in the middle of the screen while I'm playing. I like to move it off to the side so it's out of the way and I can properly see things.
But it's one of the things that, for me, as someone who doesn't spend a lot of time on MMOs, in fact, no time, is that the HUD can be sort of overbearing.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I liked about the original Final Fantasy XIV is the heads-up display was unobtrusive. It was pretty terrible about, you know, navigating things and actually doing stuff, but they tried to keep it out of the way, and I do appreciate that. Shroud of the Avatar is going for the same kind of effect. But what was I going to say? Oh, this quest is actually a guild quest, and I wanted to show this quest off in particular, because for this character, it is the quest I need to complete to reach level 10 in my starting class, and it's level 10 that you need to reach in order to start multiclassing.
Now I have a question. So there's guild quests, story quests, leve quests. Do you get experience and level up just based on that, or do you have to complete specific quests in order to level up? Like, I guess, like, you get XP for everything you do, but will you just stop gaining XP unless you...
No.
Okay, so you can just do whatever to level up.
The only level block I know of is involved is the maximum level cap, which I think is currently 60 as of Heaven's Ward, and that applies even if you don't have the expansion installed, I think. The also, when you do the 14-day free trial, you're capped at level 20. Just like World of Warcraft, actually. But,
I assume you'd have to play a whole lot to get to level 20 in 14 days.
Yeah, they don't want, I'd imagine they don't want you beating the game in the 14-day free trial.
Well, in one class, it doesn't take that long to reach level 20, provided you focus on that class for a while. But, keep in mind, you're capped at level 20, but you can get all of the game's classes to level 20 during that time if you're, I suppose, extremely obsessive about it.
Don't sleep, don't eat.
I'm not sure whether or not it's actually possible, but there it is. Have ourselves another optional FATE sub-boss, the Alpha Anole, which for some reason, well, as we all know, the alpha males in any given animal pack are 10 times the size of the rest of them.
Well, it is the alpha male.
Well, Alpha Anole.
This thing doesn't have arms.
No, it doesn't. It's like a little winged dinosaur. It's actually kind of adorable. I want one.
Oh, but I had to kill it, unfortunately.
Yeah. The Anoles are actually hostile monsters, and you can tell that by the red and yellow triangle next to their level. Those monsters are the ones that will aggro you on sight.
Because I saw in one of the earlier scenes, you were just walking past some, like, level 3 monsters that just left you alone. So
yeah, it's a standard thing in MMORPGs, and Xenoblade Chronicles, White Knight Chronicles, some other games do this too, where there are certain numbers of monsters that you have to actively attack before they'll see you as a threat. The monsters in Final Fantasy XIV, from my experience, will stick to attacking you one at a time as you attack them, unless they aggro you on sight or you're in a party. When you're in a party, and I'm basing this entirely on the few hours I spent playing with a friend, when you're in a party, it seems like other non-aggressive monsters in the area will aggro you when they see you attacking one of the others.
You gotta protect the herd, man.
Yeah, although that can lead to some problems, like if we get into a fight too close to one of the high-level monsters that's just shambling around, and they see us fighting some of the low-level monsters, and then they start attacking us.
Oh.
Because, yeah, there are larger, like very, very obviously larger and higher-level enemies wandering around the early game sections, much like Final Fantasy XII with the Tyrannosaurus Rex wandering the desert outside the city, where you just don't want to attack them until you're a much higher level.
The T-Rex in Final Fantasy XII will just leave you alone.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a non-aggressive monster. It just sort of lazily walks around, and occasionally attacks a wolf. But
So don't wear the wolf costume.
Drizzt Dudden here. I know his name is Falquest or something, but I can't pronounce that, so I'm just gonna call him Drizzt Dudden. He's actually this has to do with the Lancer Guild story, and it's an interesting thing about the classes in this game is that every class has its own quest line and its own overarching plot that you go through. So, side stories, interesting stuff. But this side story involves this jerk who seems to have really pompous ideas about what a Lancer should be, and he's actively interfering with the Lancer Guild's training exercises. Also, this is a trans. It would have been the first huge monster you saw in a cutscene if you were playing the original Final Fantasy XIV and you started in Gridania. And as you can probably see by how fast I'm taking its health down compared to it taking my health down, it's kicking my butt. So it's time to run away. Weren't we just talking about how Lancers were supposed to be like boundless courage and show no fear and stuff? Yeah, I'm running away.
Yeah, but then you found the false stone of courage, and then suddenly you got a reality check.
It's not running away. It's a strategic retreat.
Sash Lilac ran away. She bravely ran away.
And now, since the battle's over, this is when you gulp down 4 potions and then go back before its health resets.
Sadly, you can't do that because his health will regenerate pretty much instantly, and you can only drink 1 potion per minute. Yeah, they have a cooldown timer.
They're like potion sickness.
Yeah. Potion cooldowns. They kind of bug me, but they only really make sense if you're going by Witcher logic, where potions are kind of toxic, and if you overdrink them, you
die, ironically.
Yeah. I like The Witcher's potion system, but we're not here to talk about The Witcher, are we? This area is kind of harrowing to solo, because these trickster imps are actually quite powerful. They cast blizzard magic at you, so I guess it helps if you happen to start out as a class and race that has resistance to ice magic. Actually, I think that might have to do with your patron deity when you create your character. It's kind of complicated stuff that I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to while I was making my character, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, these trickster imps can actually dish out quite a lot of damage to you, so I recommend trying to take them on one at a time whenever possible. They will aggro you on sight. Fortunately, they have the visual acuity of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, so this guy's just sort of chilling behind the fence, and because I am where I am, he doesn't see me.
Hey Frank, what's going on? Oh, you're getting stabbed. That's pretty cool. Oh wait, there's someone here.
And it's not the pizza boy.
Oh no, I'm dead.
Again.
There's a recurring FATE in this area called Alex of the Draw, and it just so happened to trigger while I was in here. Complete the guild quest before you try to go for it. Trust me, you don't want to die and have to come back here. But if you complete the guild quest and die, like I'm going to do, you just sort of get warped back to town, which is where you were going anyway, so you don't really lose anything except some equipment durability.
Now, just to restate, just in case we weren't clear enough at the beginning of this video, but everything that you've been showing off is equipped with the vanilla version of Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn.
Except for this character race, which I was only able to play as on this version because I created it on a platform that I owned Heaven's Ward on. Yeah. So everything in here except this character race is content that you can access without the expansion.
Okay, so it's immediately available as soon as you buy Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah. Most of the Heaven's Ward story content, and by that I mean, I suppose, all of the story content, is stuff that you can't access until you beat A Realm Reborn. In addition, when they released when they release new patches, rebalances, and whatever, they're not confined to the expansion pack. They'll just be part of your standard patch updates.
So I'm guessing then that
Heaven's Ward is... go ahead, Ted.
Oh, well, I think we were about to say the same thing. Heaven's Ward is probably an endgame, really tough kind of thing. That.
Yeah, that's pretty much par for the course for full-on expansions. You have to get to the end game of the main story, and then whenever an expansion comes out, they'll up the level cap so that you can progress even further in your classes.
Yeah, because God knows there's already more than enough to do when you buy the game the first time and up until you get to the end of the game. But it's just that when you get to the end of the game, there's nothing to do afterwards, so expansions are there to reinvigorate your interest.
Yeah. And, you know, they add additional smaller doses of story content through patch updates too, and I think Heaven's Ward gets the same treatment in that respect, because I think they actually. Oh, I forgot to mention this, but on the I think it was on the 23rd, a couple days before we recorded this, that they released some new story content for Heaven's Ward. I wouldn't know what that story content is or where you find it, though.
So they're gonna keep expanding the expansion, is what you're telling me.
Expanding the expansion, yeah. But, you know, once you have the expansion, you have access to all of that.
I like to generalize it as adding more to the adventure.
Oh, that's actually really cool. I just noticed about your HUD. You've got the monster's health in the red, and you actually have it set up so that you have a blue bar right next to it that's your health. So it's a little bit easier to tell how well you're doing as opposed to the monster, because it's a little
that's actually not something I set up. It's just a default part of that particular HUD element. But basically, the monster you're targeting, they'll show a health bar of whatever that monster is targeting next to it. So it might be me. In my case, when you're soloing, it's usually you, but it'll also be other enemies. Bravely running away again.
Well, that's actually...
Oh, but I'm sandwiched between those enemies and this enemy. Ah! It went through a wall! Ah!
Spectre.
Run away! Run away!
I've seen ghosts.
Ah, I'm dead. Well, that was a thing. Fortunately, I was on my way back to New Gridania anyway, so I just warped back there and I saved myself a trip. I actually thought that enemy was going to give up chasing me since I was on the other side of a wall, but it didn't. So I was getting all set to put my weapon away and cast a return spell to warp back to town, but it killed me. Well.
You did poke at it enough times.
Yeah. Also, the aetherites, the giant crystals, those are your fast travel points. And when you're in larger towns like Gridania or Ul'dah or Limsa Lominsa, which you can see in my Let's Play on my own channel, you can use the smaller crystals scattered around town to quickly travel from point to point. So that's what I just did. Instant access to the Lancers Guild. You have to find the crystals before you can use them, though. So that's the catch.
That's pretty typical warp point logic, though.
Yep. It works basically the same way as in Final Fantasy XII, I think. Quest complete. And now we get a lecture about what courage actually is. There's a lot of dialogue in this game, and I actually really love the writing in a lot of cases. There's a lot of quirky dialogue going on. There are certain characters in certain places that just have this running theme of being really alliterative for no apparent reason. And then there was the whole Twilight Pretzels delivery mission, which was actually part of the Gridania main plot.
Did you say Twilight Pretzels?
Twilight Pretzels, yeah. And the guy, the first guy you go to get the pretzel, the closest guy to where you start, he sees you, and he's like really going crazy with the job that he's doing. So he says, "Halt! I'm going to have to ask you to keep your hands where I can see them, and put the pretzel on the ground."
Hey man, I just wanted to eat my pretzel.
Yeah, I actually think I tweeted a screenshot of that line like a long time ago. That was.
So what you're saying is Pretzel Bag was a valued citizen of this community, and you ate him.
Too late.
You monsters.
Oh man, there's a lot of funny dialogue in this game, and you're really doing yourself a disservice if you skip it, at least on your first time through the game. Although that also means you want to watch who you join up in a party with, because as in all MMOs, you get those snooty jerks who kick you out of your party for not skipping cutscenes.
Everyone's got something to do. I think in Final Fantasy XIV's case, it's one of those games you start, if you're gonna go for the full authentic MMO experience, you begin the game with a bunch of other friends at the same time so that you grow together.
Yeah, not necessarily like playing with them, like actively in a party, but like have a group of people who are playing the game at the same time as you. That's, I think, the best way to play any game that goes on for a long period of time, because everybody gets momentum off of each other and nobody drops the game as early.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, this does look very, very interesting. And, this is, just my personal bias, but I'd be more likely... I haven't played much MMOs before, but I'd be more likely to start with something that is related to Final Fantasy, which is a franchise I know about than just some random other game. So
That's exactly why I'd probably start with 14 myself, as someone who doesn't really play MMOs. Is only because I have a lot of mileage with Final Fantasy. So, and I've heard a lot of great things about this. I think logically it makes sense that I would start with Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I'd recommend, even if you're making arrangements to play with your friends in a certain server and city-state, solo the first run of introductory quests, because trying to do that with a friend can be a bit of a drag at the very beginning, just for the first hour of the game or so. It makes more sense to do those particular quests alone. Bye-bye.
Wish you waving it.
That's the end of the video, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you're all interested in playing this game now, because I was... Well, if you were following my Twitter, you know I was gushing about this game for a few weeks before this. Actually, I started my Let's Play right before we got this promotion offer, so funny coincidence, and that Let's Play is about to get a lot shinier.
Ooh, shiny.
Yeah. But I gotta say, it is very interesting from what I have seen, and I know we don't want this video going on too long after the promotional video ends, but I am interested in Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. And, I'm building a new PC. And I got a PS4 at standby, so I definitely have no excuse at this point.
The PlayStation 4 version is, perfectly fine to play. It plays smooth as butter, even in spite of the PlayStation 4's wonderful download speeds, in fact. You don't need PlayStation Plus to multiplayer this game. And, like the PlayStation 3 before it, the PlayStation 4 has full USB support for plug-and-play devices, including mouses and keyboards. So you get the full PC version user interface as an option here.
Alrighty then.